Hi everybody, I'm Seamus.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm Rootsgarn. And welcome back to Metro 2033. You know, these tunnels really do manage to be pretty in a way that like, the top side isn't, in a way that isn't common of post-apocalyptic video games. Like, the way the lighting is staged out, and there's the fine mist. It's an understated effect, but now that I look at it, it's actually quite nice.
Apparently failed on jumping school here. With the...
We talked about that last week. Go ahead, Seamus.
I was actually going to talk about Khan for a bit, since we left him behind, and I kind of wanted to talk to him a bit more. Or talk about him a bit more. This section with Khan, I just played through it yesterday. And one thing that occurred to me while I was playing through is this is one of the very, very, very few times in a video game where you have a companion that it does not ruin the game. Like, how rare is that you have a game built around atmosphere and the companion doesn't completely wreck everything?
You know,
that's pretty awesome.
Khan really didn't wreck everything, but I'll actually go so far as to say that I don't know if he was the best choice for that section. Because we came in right after Bourbon, and Bourbon, you know, he has a lot of character, a lot of personality, he's sort of cool. And then we switched to the Khan, he's just very, very stern and joyless, and very... He feels a little bit like the NPC, like, let me walk you around and show
I think it's 100% because that, like, Bourbon died and he immediately showed up. Like, if we'd been crawling around for a little while and then he showed up...
Yeah, there is a bit of...
I like that he, like, constantly asks those questions, like, hey, why are you really doing this?
You'll have to answer, which is good, because I really haven't heard you say a fucking thing. Seriously, is something wrong with you? With your voice box? 10 minutes later, you're gonna be down the tunnel and you're gonna be like, Khan said some interesting things. He's gonna be like, oh my god, what the fuck, who is that?
But one of the things about Khan is, when I was going through this the earlier section of the game with the ghosts, is he was like, stay close, and I stayed close. Like, so often companions are like, oh, this is gonna be tough up ahead, and I'm like, you get out of my way. I'm the protagonist, okay? Just let me pick up all the guns and I will solve the problems. Try not to get in my line of fire. But when Khan said you want to be careful, I was careful. Because you don't know what you're up against. And it wasn't a problem that could be solved with your gun. And so you needed him to guide you through that. Like, you needed what he had to tell you. As opposed to him being your combat buddy, which is always horrible.
Where do the monsters come from?
Or him being somebody you have to protect, which is even worse.
Didn't you blow up
this is a station that is called Cursed, and I guess the lesson we learn here is that when you name your station something really, really stupid like that, it tends to come back and bite you in the ass.
I know, it does. It is like a cheesy B movie where you've got like this northwestern town called Darkness Falls or something. Or like Shadow Grove. Everybody's like,
you're really good, Seamus. You might be the next Alan Wake.
Here we go again.
The monsters towards us if there are too many.
Oddly, you get a morality point just for sitting here and listening to Khan explain the situation and the plan.
I mean, it makes sense. You're finding out about your area. You're showing an interest in others. You're not shooting things. I don't know.
You're not shooting. You're not running around picking up everything that isn't nailed down and running off and letting him talk to himself.
Wow.
Really, morality points in this game are almost like, or just basically, are you playing your character?
For this segment, I wonder if it'll give you more morality points if you just wander around picking up bits of lint and reading a book.
I love that all the firing of the guns kicks up a bunch of smoke in the background. I'm not sure you guys can see it on the stream, but...
I can't.
This would just be deafeningly loud, of course.
Oh my goodness, this would be horrible. It would be like, after this was over, your ears would hurt so bad. Concrete walls.
So, okay. They were gonna cave in the tunnel with, by using some explosives, but that team so that was nice.
That thing just jumped over 2 of your shotgun blasts. MVP.
I know, those guys are good at that. They did that to me. I was using the Volt Driver at this point. And there's the little pink enemies kind of tend to duck under just as you pull the trigger. And then there's another kind of, and then these guys hop over just as you pull the trigger. And it pisses you off after a while if you fall for it more than once. I'll just say that. Without admitting incompetence on my part, I will say if that happens to you, you might get a little pissed off.
Right here, so we can use that.
Okay,
oh,
wait a
incidentally, check it out. More ghosts. Right in the exit there.
Yeah.
What's up, ghosts? How's it going?
Ah, whoa. You guys almost shot me.
You know, I wonder if that started out as like an error. Like a texturing error or something. Are those in the books? Like, described like that?
I don't remember what they're described. Like, I haven't read too much of the book, so I might not have actually run into any point where they're described in detail. I mean, I like it. It's definitely really
oh, absolutely.
As
It's
opposed to, like,
very evocative,
you know,
and understated.
You might see like someone do like, oh, the ghosts are glowy blue things.
Exactly what I was thinking.
If you would stop,
Like
avoiding
the
my
Sims
shots.
style
Thank you.
ghost.
Yeah.
And like they would make a noise like a whoosh, and your screen would go blurry. Like that's an example of overstated. Like they don't make a noise, they're just like flickering shadows.
Oh
that's
yeah,
really cool.
This is way more. This is what I think Chris gets out of Slenderman, which is just this thing looking at you and watching you and not doing anything in particular. But you're like, can I turn my back on this?
We can stop talking about that. By the way, I just want it to be publicly known here that, and it's a shame Mumbles isn't in this channel to hear this, that because of that Slenderman episode, my wife watched that, and now she occasionally calls me Mr. P-Pants. So, thank you, Internet.
Oh no! Oh, that's brutal.
Spoiler warning.
Even I was
Spoiler
like,
warning ruined your marriage.
Oh,
that's
here's an
terrible.
opportunity to call Chris P-Pants. Should I? Nah, that's just kind of mean. And your wife's...
that was-
Oh, that's the worst.
I would have appreciated it, Con, if you'd spent a little bit more time talking about what the blast radius of these damn things are.
Okay, well, bigger than what you just thought it was. I'll give you that.
Evidently.
But yeah, I mean,
Although-
if you compare these ghosts to something like System Shock 2, System Shock 2's ghosts have probably aged the worst out of everything in that game.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
You know
ghosts
what really
here, I
sums
think, are
this
some of
game
the
up?
best video game ghosts.
Tonally, you know what sums this up?
that?
The quiet guitar playing that plays like in the loading screens and at the beginning of smart videos. Like,
Yeah.
that's
very-
kind of what sums this game's tone up.
It's very
Mournful.
post-apocalyptic, because that's almost identical to the music in Last of Us. They're very similar scores, and they both are really fitting. Like, I'm obviously I'm not saying anyone ripped anyone off. I'm just saying, if you're gonna go for like a low-tech world, then a low-tech instrument makes sense. Because you couldn't score this to boom ch boom ch boom ch techno. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, no, it would not. It would definitely not.
So I mean, it's. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I think the score is just right.
That was some badass dynamite shit.
Yeah, really.
Stuff that
I,
right
Hey,
there.
the blast radius moves at the speed of a softball pitch.
just like a real explosion, like on Mythbusters.
Oh, I wasted too many shots on that guy. But you kind of see what I'm talking about with the refire rate of the shotgun.
Yeah.
Inconveniently
Where
high.
if you were
yeah.
to miss... Is there anything here that I can loot before I set the explosives?
You know, the way like, I actually had to watch the shotgun for a little while to see how it's operating. It's actually just that the
time to
shotgun
go.
shells are automatically chambered on the outside, right?
God damn it, I broke the mask. Gone. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because it kind of brings to mind, you know how like often cosmetically and just in actuality, shotguns in video games and in real life will have like a shell rack on them with like an extra bandolier of shells.
Yeah.
Have you noticed how no games ever actually make use of that?
Yeah, like you're out of shells
ammo. Wait a minute.
Still sitting there.
Should be no problem, but the Reds are another story. They are building a new.
I guess it would be convenient to have a system where like you reload your shotgun, but you also reload the shells on the exterior. But that's the sort of thing that Receiver would add to their game in a patch.
Blacksmith. Mention my name. He'll give you a hand.
Here we are coming towards the end of this whole section with Khan, and then this playing peekaboo in the tunnels with Nosalis and trying to blow the place up. All of that was just really, really strong.
Even in these times,
just so interesting, and even this scene where you say goodbye to Khan is pretty great.
God, I love how much variety they eke out of a freaking subway system. Like sewer levels are supposed to be the crappy video game levels, and they make them work here.
They've got a little bit of every. Yeah, they've got like different lighting. They've got different tone. They keep a lot of variety here, despite their limited palette, which this sort of shames almost every other developer that's ever made an underground level.
that's it.
I think part of it is the pacing. You never spend a long time going through a long corridor of just shooting guys. Like, you'll have a corridor where you shoot guys, and then you'll move on to a town, which has its own unique feel, or you'll move on to a set piece like this, where there's a unique gameplay element.
No pressure. Sure, everything depends on me. That's
Hey
it.
Con, you know, from down here, it kind of looks like you're standing in a disco.
There had been an arms factory located above, but after the nukes fell,
I will say I got a little bit frustrated here. We got to Cursed, and I was like, okay, I need to find it, because I was out of ammo for the Volt Driver, and I was like, okay, now I'll buy some stuff. Oh, this isn't a town where I can shop. Okay, well, I'll get to Armory, and then I'll get to shop.
I take it, no, not so much.
This is actually the beginning of this section of the game. Is probably the weakest, and maybe it just seems that way coming directly on the heels of what was probably the strongest, which is
yeah, it's so okay. There are communists in this game, which makes sense. Russia. There is also the Fourth Reich of Nazis in the game as well. Which is kind of weird. I actually thought that was like totally ridiculous until I looked it up, and apparently there actually are neo-Nazi groups in Russia. Who knew?
It's not that I disbelieve that such a group could form, but that it would form in this context, that they would have Nazi-looking uniforms in this post-apocalyptic world, that they would organize a society around Nazism here underground, and that they would fight the communists. I mean, when you are this starved for resources and you've got monsters all around, and then if they did fight, the idea that the two of them would form this kind of trench warfare with defined lines and reinforcements. I mean, there's not the it would look like a gang war if there was a war between the two. It would be these little skirmishes between small groups of people. Their entire premise of like ongoing warfare, it just looks absurd given the setting.
Like it's definitely the game's fault here, because in the book, I believe the Red Line and the Nazis are not actually fighting, and B, the Nazis are actually significantly less prominent.
I wonder how much of that, I mean, game's fault or book's fault, I wonder how much of that is like a cultural difference, because like, I know if you look at like The Walking Dead, both the game and the...
Bourbon's voice actor? Is this Bourbon 2.0? Okay, I mean, he's acting like Bourbon, so yeah, okay. You are now Bourbon 2.0. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna call you Bourbon 2.0.
But what was Chris saying?
No, I was just saying that I don't know if it's a cultural difference or not, but you know, in The Walking Dead, in both the video game and the TV show and the comic, you know, you end up with characters that are potentially racist or have other reasons to dislike you, but they have to go along with you because you're one of the only humans they're aware of. You're one of the only humans left. And here, we're still doing bickering over petty politics, even as everyone around us dies and we all starve to death. And it is a little weird.
And even if we were going to have communism, even if we were going to have communism, the idea that they would have this society of checking papers. I mean, when you've only got a couple hundred people here, you wouldn't need that. Like, who's going to spend time producing papers to give to people identification papers and then having police check the papers? It's like you don't need that. Everybody knows everybody else in a place this small. You don't need that sort of thing, and it's obvious. Like, a lot of this was thrown into the game without thinking of the setting or how a society like this would work. And I have no idea. I've never read the book, but I'll bet you the book did not portray things being quite this way. This feels very lazy video game.
The communists and Hansa, which is like a big mercantilist group that controls a lot of stations.
There is still a
it's
god
really
left
rich.
in our world.
But it was like it was for reasonable reasons.
I had been rescued by Hans' friend Andrew the blacksmith. He would prove to be my ticket out of the communist station.
Well, I mean,
like they wanted to connect like certain stations together so they could have trade, and the Reds wanted to take certain other stations for various reasons, and it was like, it wasn't like, oh, we're communists and Nazis, so we should obviously be fighting World War II.
And even this chase scene bugged me, because it's like, wait, everybody in town's trying to murder you, and then this guy goes, quick, in here, and then nobody finds you. It's just very lazy, like, you know, oh, cutscene, and the bad guys immediately stop trying to kill you and just point their guns at you, even though they were shooting a second ago, and it just feels very much like the writer had what he had to have happen and didn't know how to sell it.
We got a bunch of
and
guns
it's frustrating.
here. Actually, let's sell Bourbon shotgun first. And we'll do that by buying a duplet at town.
One of the red stations, they say.
But I mean, the idea
maximize the money we get from this.
The idea of humans going to war in a situation like this isn't at all unreasonable. It's just over petty ideology seems a lot less likely than actual resources, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that they wouldn't fight over ideology, but they're just so much more likely to fight over resources, food, bullets, things like that. The idea that they're really just going to fight because we're communists and you're Nazis and therefore, lol, we have to fight, just strikes me as being incredibly lazy and
check it out, Seamus.
Just
we got a Volt
not very
driver
satisfying.
now. Yeah, it's great.
Didn't you say you were not going to use a
gun.
Volt driver? Are you going to sell it?
We should sell it.
He's gonna sell it. He's gonna sell it. I knew he was gonna do that. I knew that's where he was going. I am the abused spouse of this relationship. I know where this is going when you come home drunk.
Wait a minute, Josh. You're not planning to use the Volt driver, right?
No.
Okay, then you're really growing as a person if you're getting rid of it instead of carrying it around for the rest of the game.
Instead, I've got this gun, which is better than the Volt driver, in my humble opinion. It is a heavy machine gun that has been rebored to fire 20mm shotgun shells.
That sounds...
That's tough to argue with.
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds possible. It sounds like... I'm sure it exists and it is possible to use. It sounds like it would really fucking hurt your shoulder.
I would say more like, it sounds like it would cost $400,000 to fire for more than a couple seconds now. I can't imagine how much money you're burning through in the video game world.
So remember how Bourbon left us his AK? Yeah, and we never used it? Let's sell it now.
In memory of him.
Agreed.
Yep.
You're going to spend the money on some bourbon. What, you don't have bourbon?
Surely your gun is best knife. But if you insist, everything you need when traveling is dangerous. Excellent choice. Good gun.
It's vodka with food coloring to make it look like bird.
Buying this.
Whatever.
Let's see. We want to get the armor.
One of a kind. You won't find it any. Whatever.
No, not you.
One of a kind.
Here we go. Stealth suit.
Agreed.
I got the stealth suit, and I couldn't tell if it was doing anything. I just trust
It makes it much easier to hide.
I'd been so rubbish at sneaking up until this point, I couldn't tell if the suit was helping or not. So,
You know, I feel like that in Far Cry 2 a lot. Like, you could buy camo, and I just had no idea if it was working or not, because it felt like they could just spot me through thick foliage all the time anyway. Like, I'd be being shot by some guy 5 feet away, and I'd have no idea where he was, but some other guy would spot me at night on the hillside through the jungle behind a zebra, and just instantly snipe me in the head.
We'll buy this too.
Whatever. Always handy.
Do we have any filters we can get from here? No. Okay. That's nice. So this is all part of the Ranger DLC, where, like, originally in the game, you did not show up in Andrew the blacksmith's house, and he just had weapons lying there, implicitly telling you to get them. And with the Ranger DLC, which was free for this game, they just gave it out for Steam users. You had to buy it for the 360, which also included the Ranger mode. So kind of sucked for 360 users.
That's gaming in a nutshell, really.
yeah.
So yeah, there was this thing that was free for PC gamers, but Xbox gamers had to pay for it and they had to turn on their Kinect camera, which was mandatory with the console, dress in their underwear, and do a little dance, which would be then archived and sent to Bill Gates in his retirement home.
Like, this game would easily, like you could still do this game on the Ranger modes, but the addition of all of this basically free money and awesome guns in this section makes the rest of the game much easier.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
and now
is
I've
good,
got like, scope, silent weapons, and
which is good because if you
a super
botch
shotgun.
if you botch the upcoming stealth section, you're going to be doing a lot of fighting.
Supposed to be.